Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Guardians of Service, a show that we are introducing here on the Henryetta. And Tricia, who is here with me today, she is the one that is actually going to host this show down the road. And the show is going to be, you filled me in on it, but I'm not a veteran, so I don't have a whole lot of information on benefits and other things. But one of the things that you are going to do on this show is to keep veterans informed about the opportunities or the possibilities or benefits that are available. And many times, from what I understand, a lot of veterans don't understand what's available really to them, right?
Right.
And yeah, tell me a little bit about that, how you got into that, because you have, from what I understand, you have helped at least 500-600 veterans with different kind of benefits. And so tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I've helped about 600 veterans with their VA paperwork, which is trying to get their VA benefits. I represent the DAV out of Krebs, Chapter 20, when it comes to helping veterans file for their VA benefits. So we help them with different benefits such as caregiver assistance, VA claims, aid and attendance, their spouses with DIC, and CHAMP VA, which is a health insurance. We help them with whatever paperwork they need, including burial benefits. If they need a headstone or foot marker for their grave, we do that paperwork. So we do all kinds of veteran benefits. And the DAV and Krebs, they're actually opened on Mondays from 8:30 to 2:30. So you don't need an appointment. You can just walk in. Or if you want to see me here in Henryetta, I help veterans by appointment. So my number is 479-414-0952.
All right. The interesting part with you also is that you have served in the military, and you actually served in 2 different branches. Is that correct?
Yes. I served in the Marine Corps for 4 years, from 88 to 92. And then I also served in the Army National Guard on active duty for the Arkansas Army National Guard for 17 years. So I'm retired military, and I'm also 100% permanently and totally disabled. So I've been through the VA process, and I've been doing this for about 5 years, well, going on 6 years now, helping veterans get their benefits. Because a lot of times they're not educated about what their benefits are. So they don't know to ask for help or how to do it. And that's what I do. I do all their paperwork for them, representing the DAV out of Krebs.
Right. Okay. So during these years that you served, you actually served in Iraq during the Iraq War?
Yes. I was in Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Right. And how was that? How was your experience with that?
Well, I couldn't imagine my military career without it, because I think every soldier needs that experience, because that's what they've trained their whole career for, is to deploy. So I deployed to Kuwait, and then we went on to Baghdad, Iraq. And we were there about 9 months, but they did give us 2 weeks off in between, halfway in between the deployment, so that we can fly back to the States and see our family and have a break. Because we usually didn't get a day off. I think it was 3 months before we even got the first day off, which was a challenge, because you're wearing 65 pounds of battle gear, and that's very difficult.
And that's, women are sometimes physically a little more, not as heavy as some of the guys are. How was that in the military, being a woman among a bunch of guys? How was that? Just tell me a little bit about it. it just tell me about it.
Well, it was kind of tough, I'll be honest with you, because like when I was in the Marines, we would hike 12 miles with all of our field gear on our back and our rifle and our Kevlar. So it was about 65 pounds of gear. So it was difficult and physically demanding. The Marines is by far the most physically demanding branch there is, because they actually train as they fight. So if they go to the field for 30 days without a shower, that's how they train. That's how it is when you go to war, usually, depending on where you're located. So that is, in my opinion, the toughest branch of service there is. It's very physically demanding.
Right. It's a little bit of, if you can describe that a little bit, for a lot of people, they haven't served in the military, so they don't understand the difference. What's really the difference between our Army soldier and a Marine? What's the difference in tasks you have to perform and that kind of stuff?
Well, in the Marines, I felt like that we never had enough manpower to complete all the tasks, so we were constantly in a rush to get the task completed. But the Marines, like I said, they train as they fight. So they are sleeping in the fighting holes in the dirt. They're not sleeping in hotels or two-man chews like we did in Iraq. We stayed in a tent twice, 30 days going into Kuwait, and then 30 days from Baghdad coming back, so the other units can transition in. But the rest of the time that we were deployed, we stayed in two-man chews, which is trailers, and then we shared a common latrine down the walkway, and that's while the women shared the same
right.
bathroom, basically, and then the men had their own latrines.
What was the percentage of men versus women? You know?
I don't know for sure, but I know there was 30 women in our tent, and I deployed with the 39th Infantry Brigade Combat Team out of Little Rock. So I think we had 3,500 soldiers deployed, but there were 54 units under us that deployed, and I was the transportation NCO, so I helped get all the equipment to Iraq. And then once I got there, then I worked in the Base Defense Operations Center where the base commander worked, doing radio checks with the checkpoints, and then also doing the CPOF, which is basically like PowerPoint, but you do the briefing for the commander of what happens in your area of operation, either at the checkpoints or anywhere in that area if there was any incidents, so he's aware of what's going on.
Right. Yeah. So let me ask you a few other things. Despite the military career that you had, now you had other aspirations too, and one of them was the culinary aspect of your life. That's one of the passions, from what I understand from you. And by the way, we are actually recording a show here at the Henryetta, and we're recording that show weekly, basically, and it goes out on Sundays. So that's part of the culinary stuff that you're doing. How did that awaken in you the interest for culinary, and what kind of degree did you get, and how did you go through that?
Okay, well, I had 7 job specialties in the military in my 21 years, but I really wanted to be a chef. So when I got out of the military in 2014, I decided I was going to go to OSUIT in the culinary program. And so I graduated in 2022 as a chef, and I knew when I joined the program that I was going to teach whatever I learned. So I have extensive notes. And so that's where we started the culinary command post here at the Henryetta TV, which shows every Sunday at 2 o'clock. We teach a different dish. And that's how I ended up in the culinary. I had no idea OSUIT was 20 minutes from my house when we moved here, but I'm really glad I went to that program.
So you kind of found that out, and just decided to join the school or sign up or?
Yeah, and I wanted to do something I could use every day, and so I use that every day. And it's a 1.5-year program, but I took 3 years because I was there to learn everything I could. So I didn't do the summers. I didn't think I was going to be in a rush to try to get my degree because I joined the Marines in 1988 to go to college. But because we were deployed all the time to the field, because in the Marines I was a field radio operator and a training NCO, I didn't really get to start college until I got out in 1992. And so I was going to college all those years, and I finally decided I wanted to be a chef and teach what I learned in culinary school.
Right. All right. Yeah, and I have had a chance to actually taste some of her food, and it's excellent. So
thank you.
So we have, we have a lot of things that we are going to talk about in these upcoming shows. So today it's more like an introductory of Tricia, who she is. One of the passions she has, and I've learned and I can see, is the fact that she goes really goes as far as she can go to help other people. And I guess that's part of the military. That's part of the military too, right? Where you have camaraderie. Is that a good word to use in the military? There's a lot of camaraderie, and because you help each other, you support each other, and especially when you're deployed to war zones and other things. Tell me a little bit about that, because there got to be with other soldiers. You cover each other's back a lot and that kind of stuff. Yeah. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, we definitely have to work as a team, because sometimes you don't have enough manpower, so you do have to work as a team to get the mission accomplished. That's why I help veterans too, because I've been deployed. I know what it's like to not see your family for 9 months at a time, and it's very difficult, especially when there's nowhere to go to find private space. You're in a tent with 30 women, or you could get shot at any time. So I honestly tried not to go too many places outside of my CHU or the BDOC, which is the Base Defense Operations Center, because I felt like we were a big target if I went to any events.
Right.
So it was very challenging, but I would not want to retire without at least going to be deployed at least one time.
Right.
It's a very good experience.
Yeah. Okay, so we have we're going to try to make this also to an information channel for the veterans. We want you to be able to come and watch this show, but there's going to be other things that are part of getting that information, and one of them is actually a couple of websites, web pages, and other things, information. You have one website where you share some of that information. Am I correct on that? Yes,
I have a website that I set up about 10 years ago, and it's called theamericansoldier.org. And put .org on the end because that's important. But anyway, it's theamericansoldier.org, and I wrote a song about soldiers called March On Soldiers that I put to the background of the American Spirit video that's also on my website. There's 2 parts to the video. It's the first part is the song I wrote called March On Soldiers, and the second part is Dale Ford's song. He's a master sergeant that retired out of the Oklahoma Army National Guard, and his song is called Country, God, and Flag. And then if you look at the resources area of my website, there's all kinds of resources such as your VA disability percentage and what benefits you're entitled to based on that percentage. There's also 2 key regulations that are very important in helping a veteran get their VA claim. So one is called Title 38 Code of Federal Regulations, and the second one is the Presumptive War Illness List, which is by war zone. So if a veteran has went to that war zone, they need to look at that section for their war zone, because there's presumed conditions that came from that war zone that are a lot easier to get versus another condition that's not on that list. Title 38 CFR covers all conditions that veterans can claim as a VA claim if they've been diagnosed currently, like within the last 2 years of that condition, and they also had that condition when they were in, if they were a non-combat veteran. If they were a combat veteran, then the conditions on the presumed war illness list is some of the conditions that they can claim also. On va.gov is the other website that I do a lot of research, and that covers all of your benefits of the VA disability benefits, the DIC for the dependent if you pass away, or the caregiver assistance or aid and attendance. So va.gov is an excellent website to go to get educated on what your benefits are. And that's what my job is to help you be informed of what you're entitled to or what you're entitled to apply for.
Yeah. Let's hold that for a minute, and we're going to go to a short little commercials and for one of our sponsors. All right, so here we are. We're back, and one of the questions I have or thoughts I have is about the veterans' disability when it comes to especially disabled veterans. I've seen on TV, and to me, I've seen on TV some people coming out and helping veterans, fixing their house, if they need wheelchair access, bathrooms, and other things. How is that part accessed for veterans?
Okay, so if a veteran is a disabled veteran, and say they have steps going up to their front door, they can actually request a consult through their primary care manager, and then the primary care manager of the VA hospital will do a consult to prosthetics, and prosthetics will send a contractor out to get a estimate of how much it would cost to put a ramp on your front porch. It could be 5 feet, it could be 20, depending on the depth of your porch to your front door. And then the VA would pay for that ramp if it's approved. The other item that they would approve, if you're eligible, is if you're 100% VA disabled, they would pay to have a walk-in shower put in your bathroom if you had a bathtub and you had trouble getting over into the bathtub. That's if you're 100% VA disabled. So they'll pay up to $6,800 to have a walk-in shower put in your bathroom. Or if you're only 50% VA disabled, then they'll pay up to $2,000 towards getting a walk-in shower put in your bathroom, which is very helpful. But it all has to go through your primary care manager, sending a consult to prosthetics, and then prosthetics would send you a packet that you would have to fill out, get a quote from different contractors, and then you would submit it back to the prosthetics department. And if it was approved, then they would pay you to get that work done as far as your walk-in shower or your ramp built on your house. It's not something that they hire the contractor. You find your contractor and get the quote and then submit that packet to them.
And so you're submitting the quote?
Yeah, I'm submitting this quote from whatever contractors I choose, and then they will approve it or disapprove it based on that, based on the pictures of your current bathtub, and then whatever the quote is from the contractor. But they'll pay up to $6,800 for soldiers that are 100% VA disabled.
Right. Again, do you have some of this information on your website?
I don't have that particular information, but I will get some and have it posted. Right. Below this video, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I will get
some of
that.
some of the stuff we're doing today.
Yeah.
We can put some of it in the description. Tricia here is always approachable, so you can either email her. Let's set up an email so people can email without giving your personal email out. We can actually set up an email.
Okay.
under the Henryetta. So that
Okay.
email is actually going to be veteransbenefits@thehenryetta.com.
Okay.
So he can be participating in that.
Yeah, and that way I can answer your questions and respond to
Right.
whatever issues
So if you have a
need.
lot of questions and other things, please just email veteransbenefits@thehenryetta.com, and we're going to put something on the screen here.
Okay.
Okay. We have also something called the PACT Act, and I know it was important because I before we started the show, I told you a little bit. I have a friend of mine who does similar things like Tricia is doing, helping other veterans and other things. And I did a few things for him on his website. So can you explain the PACT Act to me a little bit, and give our viewers a little bit of feedback and information on it?
Yes. What the PACT Act is it's called Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxins Act, and it came out in August of 2022. So if you filed a claim prior to that, you probably need to file another claim because it's going to address and add like 20 other conditions for Iraq veterans. And then the PACT Act added two more conditions to the Vietnam veterans, which is the high blood pressure and the monoclonal gamethy, which is too much protein in the blood. So that's what the PACT Act has done. And basically, it expanded and extended eligibility for VA health care for veterans with toxic exposures and veterans of the Vietnam, Gulf War, and post-9/11 eras. And you can find out more information about the PACT Act on the va.gov website, and it goes into more depth information as far as what cancers are considered presumptive as to coming from that particular war zone. Those are a lot easier to prove because it is a condition that came from that war zone that's acknowledged by the government that it probably was caused by that war zone.
Okay, yeah, the PACT Act was as a result. Was that a result of some kind of chemical poisoning and other things that happened? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, basically, it's like when during Desert Storm they had all kinds of oil fires, so the veterans breathed in those toxins from the oil fires. Also, just burning trash over there in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's part of the PACT Act, where the toxins were inhaled by the veterans.
Right.
Also, another thing that happened to me, and they're still doing it today, is that they put our bottled water on pallets out in the open entryways. There's no cover. They're under 120 degrees scorching heat, which all that does is leak plastic toxins into our water. But that's what we had to drink over there. So those are some of the things. There's several bases that have water contamination, such as China Lake, California. Matter of fact, the last 3 commanders from that base have died. So there's all kinds of toxins because they do a lot of testing of bombs and different explosives. And so that is one of the bases. Also, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. We could file a VA claim on the toxic water at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. That started in it ended in 1987, which I got there in 1988, but it lasted 35 years of water contamination before they acknowledged that the base was contaminated, that had water contaminated. So there was 30 Marines that came out with breast cancer and all kinds of other conditions. So if you were stationed at Camp Lejeune, we can file a claim based on the Camp Lejeune water contamination.
Okay.
That were just some of the examples of toxins that they were exposed to.
Right. And again, we're going to put some more of that information up also on our website. Let me also say this, right? This is something you do. There's no charge. There's everything you do here is a volunteer basis, right? So there is no, for us, or Tricia especially, there is no financial benefits. We're doing it just because Tricia has a passion to help, and especially veterans. So I just wanted to get that in.
Yeah, it doesn't cost the veteran anything for us to educate you on your benefits and help you file the paperwork. It's important to have a service officer because we know what conditions go on which form, and if that condition's denied, we know we need to put it on a specific form. If you have evidence, if you don't, we put it on another form. So it's very important to seek advice from a veteran service officer, just because we've been doing this for a while and we're doing it for free. We have no hidden agenda except to help our veterans.
Right. Okay. Couple of other things. Tricia is obviously just one person, but there is other help to get here in the area. You have down in Krebs, you have DAV. Is it called DAV?
Yeah, it's DAV, Disabled American Veterans, and I work for DAV in Krebs when it comes to filing paperwork for veterans, and they're open almost every Monday from 8:30 to 2:30, and they have 5 or 6 service officers that show up every Monday. So you don't need an appointment. You can walk in, get put on a list. You can even request a certain service officer. They're all good down there. But if you can't wait for me to help you, you are welcome to go to the DAV in Krebs, Chapter 20, on Mondays from 8:30 to 2:30, and they would be happy to help you do your paperwork. What I normally do, because I'm usually booked out 2 months ahead of time because I help veterans all over the state, is I'll meet with them the first time, do their letter of intent and their appointment of service officer, which would be the DAV, and that would get them back paid to the date the VA receives that letter of intent. So that way you're going to get back paid if you are awarded a VA disability percentage. So I try to get that done within the first week or so that I get notified that a veteran needs help, so they're not losing money waiting on my appointment schedule to open up. So that's important to get that letter of intent turned in. And also by doing that, there's medical evidence, research that the veteran could be doing in that 2-month period while they're waiting for me to be more prepared to do their VA claim.
Right. Yeah, and it's also important to let people know. Don't be shy to contact us and Tricia or DAV in Krebs. They will get back to you as soon as possible.
Yes.
So we'll do that. And again, we are going to put some emails and some other things right down in the description here, and some more information will be on her website. And give me that domain again.
Okay, so my website is called www.theamericansoldier.org. Make sure you put .org at the end. And that's my website that has the song I wrote, the video, The American Spirit, and also the resources for veterans to be educated about what benefits they're allowed to apply for. Also, when you do apply for a condition on a VA claim, you do have to have a current diagnosis within the last 2 years. Plus, you have to have a diagnosis from a doctor. So, for example, if you have acid reflux and you go to Walmart and get Tums, that does not count. You have to get a diagnosis from a doctor of whatever condition you have in order for that to be a legitimate VA claim condition. That's part of the criteria.
All right. Okay, so as we're getting close to these shows are going to be about 30 minutes, and they will be repeated once a week. You will have different topics that you talk about and try to educate people. So don't miss out on that. And I don't know, we haven't decided the broadcast time, but Tricia's culinary show, by the way, is going at 2 o'clock every Sunday, 2 p.m. every Sunday. So we are going to put this one somewhere around that same time. probably roughly about 2:30 in the afternoon, or 1:30 in the afternoon, either before or after. So
Okay.
those shows will be scheduled that way. All right. One more thing. We have touched on a lot of, excuse me, on a lot of benefits and things. But one thing that obviously is important to veterans as well, and the survivors of veterans. How is the burial benefits and other things? How does that come about in the military?
Okay, so one benefit that a lot of veterans don't know about, in order to get the $2,000 burial benefit, is you have to have a VA disability. So whether it's 0%, which is acknowledgement you have a condition that's service connected, or 100%, you have to have a VA connected disability or service connected disability in order to get that $2,000 burial benefit. And then also, there are other forms that I can help you fill out. If a veteran needs a headstone or a foot marker, we can order those headstones and foot markers. Now, you don't have to have any VA disability to get the headstone and foot marker. But as far as the $2,000 burial benefit, you do need to have some kind of VA disability that's service connected in order to get the $2,000 burial benefit. And a lot of times the funeral home will fill out the burial benefit paperwork.
And is there anything else you want to touch on before we say goodbye for today and come back next week?
No, other than I'd like to give my phone number out, which is the 479-414-0952. And then if you'll call and leave your name and phone number, because I get a lot of calls, then I will call you back as soon as I can to help assist you in any way I can and try to get your questions answered.
All right, guys. That was today's show, and again, come back every week, and we are going to announce the times. If you go to henryetta.com, we will have a broadcast schedule on there eventually, and just come on back and see us again. God bless, and we'll see you soon again.
Thanks for watching.